and start off. Today, I'm here with Brook G, a Denver Metro cycling enthusiast, mountain bike coach, mentor, and one of the founding members of the Denver chapter of Black Girls Do Bike. Brook, I'm so happy that you're here today because I can't think of anyone that embodies the spirit of forging a path through purpose and authenticity for yourself and for other people than yourself. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me about your work, your love of the outdoors, and cycling in particular.
Yes, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here. Just wanted to start off by saying that, I was not the founder of Black Girls Do Bike, but definitely a wonderful woman. I want to give her credit. Her name is Stephanie, and she is the first Black woman to finish the Trans Am. So she went across from one end of the country to the other end of the country. And she came back and she just really wanted to have the support and create a community of Black women who are on bikes and to be able to introduce the joy of cycling to Black women. And so we work together to introduce that joy of cycling to Black women, as well as another co-leader named Crystal, who is just one of the most amazing athletes you'll meet. She's just such a wonderful woman. And all three of us have such a great passion about introducing the joy of cycling to women of color.
Thank you. Well, thank you for correcting me on that, because I knew you were a co-founder or a founding member, but I wasn't familiar with the other ladies, but they do sound amazing. And I've been following you on Facebook, and it's just been a whirlwind since I met you. What was it, about a year and a half ago? 2 years ago, maybe?
2 years ago, I think. It's been 2.5 years because that's,
Oh, okay.
You met me at the very beginning of my riding career, mountain biking riding career anyway. And it was just such a great adventure with you. I remember you taking me out to Table Mountain, it was, correct?
Yep.
And coaching me through some rock gardens even back then. And
Now you can probably coach me on a thing too through rock gardens.
One thing that it brings to mind is this power of that women have together, really exploring mountain biking together and encouraging one another. And I really was able to have one of my first moments. I have had many since, but you were the first woman I've ever ridden with.
Aww.
And I got to feel that power of just that girl power. It's a real thing. And
yes, it is.
And to be encouraged by you and to see you go through these rock gardens and to tell me you can do it, just watch my line, watch the way I do it, you can do it. And it's been nonstop since then. I've been encouraging other women, and other women still encourage me.
That's what it's all about. And I remember that day. I remember you never stopped smiling. So I knew you were going to go far. I was like, oh, she really likes this. She loves it. And not only did you like the fun factor, because I know you're about fun, but you loved the challenge, both physically and mentally. And I remember that was a hot day. We were like riding at the heat of the day. And you were just like, I was like, yeah, I think you can do it. And you went for it because, getting off and walking on your bike is part of mountain biking. So I always take people down the technical stuff because they always have that option to just get off and ride. But it's so exciting when you do a move that you've been looking at and wanting to do, maybe a little afraid of. But so yeah, I remember that, and I was like, I knew you were gonna go far with it, but I wasn't expecting the whirlwind that I've been seeing on Facebook, as far as like all the groups you're part of, the competitive stuff, the endorsements. I mean, it's been a beautiful thing to watch because you're on fire, girl.
Thank you. It's been absolutely amazing and has really taken my breath away. The passion that I have for the sport and how I just looked around and I said, I want to see more women in this sport, and being able to find groups of women who have been really supportive of me. And then later on, looking around and saying, I want more women that look like me in this sport. And so having the opportunity, being really excited that Stephanie gave me the opportunity to be able to lead Black Girls Do Bike and bring in my mission of wanting to introduce the joy of mountain biking specifically to women of color. And so I'm just like so grateful for that. And I'm grateful that a lot of people have signed on to honor that mission of mine, to honor me as a community leader. People specifically like Yeti, who has given me an opportunity, Pearl Azumi, WTB, all of them have been really supportive of, first of all, my organization, and second, really uplifting me as a community leader and taking a chance on me and partnering with me as an ambassador or as an athlete.
It's been amazing. And one of the things I have loved watching about your progress is you've just been like, oh, there's space here. Somebody should fill this. Maybe that person should be me. Or, you know what? There isn't space here. Somebody needs to make space. Maybe that should be me. That's what you've been doing. And, you started off with mountain biking, you said 2.5 years ago. And I think within a year you were like, oh, I'm a mountain bike coach for a big high school team. So you coach for Boulder
High school, yes.
High school, yeah.
Yes, I absolutely love it. I'm a coach for Boulder High School. That is such a big mountain biking team. We have over 100 mountain biking athletes. We've won several national championships. We out of that group, many men and women come out and make mountain biking such a big part of their life. And so it has been an honor to be able to serve the mountain biking community and the youth community by being a coach for Boulder High School. And it's been even a greater honor to be a Black woman who coaches, and one of the only Black women who coaches. Hopefully we're changing that. But one of the only Black coaches who coaches on this team that really has a number of athletes who are going to go on to dominate this sport. And so it feels really, really good for them to see me as a leader and to see me as a female who's on a bike and who is Black. And all of those things matter so much to me. And it might be like a small blip in their life, but it's one that I think will be memorable when they're out there riding their bikes on the mountains, and when they have opportunities to make the sport more equitable, diverse, and inclusive. I really feel like they'll be creating safe space. I coach sophomore males, so I coach boys.
You're brave, girl.
Right. I will tell you something that's so funny is that, when they first start off, you can definitely, you're in charge, you're in lead, you're telling them, come on, boys, like, let's keep moving, let's keep marching. And I would say like a month in, you're like, okay, go. I'll meet you at that spot. You know the spot. Like, they just accelerate so fast and they get so good so fast, those young bodies. And so, it's impressive to be humbled in front of them, and to just for them to see me as a coach and really see me as a support team for them. And anyway, the idea is that, like, I really like seeing these males really look up to me for leadership and coaching. And because, it's really, women don't dominate the sport. But we are clearly coming onto the scene in a very powerful way. And I believe that these young boys, already having been led by a woman at a young age, will show a great deal of respect later on when they're out there going for a leisurely ride at Table Mountain or Green Mountain or in Evergreen. Yeah.
That, I mean, that's such an amazing perspective because you are such an incredible role model, and you are making a lifelong impression on these young boys. And I think that that's, I mean, you saw the opportunity there. How did this happen? How did that opportunity open up for you to become a coach?
So Boulder High School, I want to give them credit in the fact that they really wanted, they understand that representation matters. And so they really wanted to bring in women of color to help support coaching. And they said, kind of by any means necessary, right? Uh, we we are going to train you, we are going to support you, and we're going to give you what you need to go out here and be able to coach our team, which felt a bit intimidating for me. And so they went out there and they recruited. They looked for women of colors. They went to all the different corners. They reached out to Black Girls Do Bike Denver, and I was like, yeah, okay, another challenge. I'm down. I really had to trust them. I had to trust that they were going to safely integrate me into coaching at high school with young men and women who've probably been riding bikes since they were little kids. And I'm glad I did trust them because they really did a great job of preparing me, integrating me as a part of the team. And I give credit also to the young men and women on that team as well.
Yeah, great athletes with great attitudes. And I give credit to you for trusting yourself and going for it. You weren't like, I got to have 10 years experience before I can lead. You were like, there's a space, and I'm just going to step into it and fill that role. That's what's so amazing about the work that you do.
And it's really how I approach mountain biking. I think it's the way I approach mountain biking from the day I first got on it. I was introduced to mountain biking by an ex-boyfriend, and he really I wouldn't say he had all the great coaching skills, but one thing but one thing is, he put me on this on this little rinky dink bike that I'm so happy I had, and he said, "Go for it," and I went for it, and that's the way my mountain biking career has been. I have There have been calls put out, and I have accepted those calls, and I've just gone for it.
I love that. And I think I know this mutual friend, and he definitely kind of taught you the rules of go for it, have fun. It's about,
Absolutely.
it's about
Absolutely.
maximizing the fun, the
Absolutely.
people I ride with is about max. I mean, my husband's like that. He's like, you got to ride this trail this way because it's the most fun. You get the most downhill for the uphill, effort. So,
Yes. And I think we know that Joe is definitely one of those people. He likes to have fun out there, and his joy around mountain biking really, it was contagious, and I caught it. I caught that joy, and I caught that that same joy that he has. Well, he just goes for everything, right? And I didn't know any other way, and so it was such a
great
it was,
introduction.
yeah, a great introduction to be able to learn from somebody who is a person who just goes for it all the time.
It that reminds me of how I learned, and what I fell in love with my husband is when you see people who, I think, being in the outdoors and mountain biking in particular, you'll see people who love to play. And I love seeing that little boy. I could see, even though he's a grown man, I could see the little boy in him playing, doing wheelies, jumping off of rocks, doing things I never imagined a bike could do. But that brings me to the question of, like, where's your background in mountain biking? Because I really do think that as adults, we fall in love with it because it reminds us as, you know, playing as children on bikes.
Right. And I would say that's exactly where my background in cycling comes from. I um, often tell uh, when I'm interviewed or whether I'm writing an article, I talk about my background with cycling as a kid. We didn't call it cycling, we just called it riding bikes in the neighborhood. So we did a lot of riding bikes in the neighborhood. As soon as we got home from school, we'd take off. And we just had so much fun exploring together, my sister and I. And that joy came right back when I got back into road cycling. And then when I hesitantly got into mountain biking. So glad I got into mountain biking.
And you went straight for the extreme kind of mountain
Downhill.
biking with the downhill.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely love downhill mountain biking. It's my favorite. Um, you know, I love the challenge of going fast and really being careful with those brakes. Really let my bike out and learning to be brave, learning to trust myself, my skills, and my bike. I The difference between that joy as a kid of riding bikes and the joy as an adult is that learning process. I, as an adult, really value learning from other mountain bikers and particularly women mountain bikers. My mentor is this amazing woman named Brook G, and she has just taught me so much from learning to clip in now as a mountain biker to learning how to get over obstacles I never thought I'd be able to get over, learning how to go over, do drops, things that I never thought I would be able to do before. I really have been learning the right technique and received the right coaching to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Now, I know when I first rode with you, you were talking about a Vita clinic, and I was out of town, unfortunately for me, but it sounds like you probably did that clinic or another one because you now have a
So
relationship.
many Vita, yes. So I've got a big relationship with Vita. I'm an ambassador for them, and I am so grateful for the opportunities that I have with them to be able to participate in clinics and to learn as much about mountain biking as I possibly can. Clinics is one aspect to Vita, but Vita is also a community. It's a community of women who support each other, who you can talk to and reach out to ride with, to find a safe space to be a part of as a woman, and that's where I met Britt, the woman I'm talking about, who was my mentor. Uh, I I have been able to reach out to her during some of my hardest times when I felt like, oh, today is a bad day, today didn't work out the way I felt, or this month of writing, I feel like I've had some regression. And she's just always there to just kind of pick me up and to show me how far I've come and to just give me those pointers too about how to make tomorrow a better day and really give me the technical skills that I need to keep getting out there and feeling better about how I'm progressing.
Well, she sounds amazing. Is she a local writer with Vita or is she somebody from out of state?
Actually, she also, like me, is an ambassador for Yeti. She's also a professional mountain bike racer.
Oh, wow.
So she's been professionally racing for a while now, and I think we remind each other a lot of. I remind her. She says this often of what she looked like when she first started. She was also one of those people who like just accepted a challenge, who just really goes for it. And because she sees that in me, she is often, I think it makes us a good match. She feels really comfortable with being my mentor.
She sounds like a great mentor. I hope to meet her one day for sure. So tell me about the work that you do with Black Girls Do Ride.
So Black Girls Do Bike is this amazing organization where we take um, the resources we have around us and we really, we, first of all, we try to create safe spaces for women of color to ride in. So we hold group rides. And a thing that we're doing here, particular to Denver, is that we want to introduce different types of cycling to women. And for me, being a leader and being a mountain biker, which I love, mountain biking, I want to take women who are normally road riders and also put them on a mountain bike. I want to show them the joy of mountain biking. I want them to get curious around it, and I want to put them on bikes and sit and have them send it, right? Um, so we have one way that I've been able to do that is to um, combine with other organizations to support clinics. So I've partnered with FIDA, Comba, really with the support of my mentor Brook G, to provide clinics for Black Girls Do Bike and really introduce that joy of mountain biking to them. Some other things that we do as an organization is we want to continue to encourage women to ride once they get on bikes, especially during really stressful times, because we know that when you connect to the outdoors, that really supports good mental health. And so we do competitions and we use our media to support women getting on bikes. We use it as an opportunity to share different things that might be of curiosity to women of color. And also, we use it for representation, right? So you can see other women that look like you. I had no idea that Colorado had a number of women, Black women, and other women of color who ride mountain bikes. And it was so exciting to be able to connect with them and to go out on a ride in Boulder and Denver, all over the place. And we were able to learn from each other. And it felt so good to have to go on rides with people who have shared experiences. It feels just as good, I'm sure, CJ, like when you go out and you ride with women, you're like, oh, wow, this feels so good to be. I mean, you enjoy riding with your husband, of course, but it just sometimes there's something about riding with a woman.
Oh,
And for
yeah.
me, yes. And for me, there's something really amazing about riding with women of color and having this shared experience and being able to feel safe with one another.
Yes, I love that. And I did some research, and I know that you had published a few articles, a few pieces that you wrote, and I think one you co-wrote with somebody about um, struggling to belong and inclusion, looking for diversity in, the Denver metro area. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that? Because I want to draw a bridge between that sense of belonging, or maybe not feeling like you belong, because I think that's something that everybody can relate to. But I think that when you are a minority or a person of color, that is an even more intense feeling. And so I want to, I'd love to hear you talk about it, because I've heard in other interviews, and I thought it was so powerfully, you just say it so well about how important it is to feel like you belong, or the struggle to belong, because I think we can all relate to that on some level.
I think in the past I've talked about that, especially in interviews, about how particularly it was last season that I really felt like I didn't belong to this mountain biking community. I felt like no one really looked like me. I felt like all of the representation, whether it's women who were just selling mountain biking shorts or mountain biking shoes, none of them looked like me. There's no effort to even support them looking like me. Recently, there has been a change, but um, I felt really alone when people don't look like you. And I really struggled with whether this was a sport that I belonged to, whether this was a community that I belonged to. I kept hearing these voices. No one in particular, no one ever told me, but I kept hearing these voices like, this is not the space for you. The space is very white. It looks very white. Um, and It was really discouraging. And there were people who came on the scenes that I was so really excited about. There's a group called Black Boxes when I really kind of got to my worst that came onto the scene. And it was a group of, excuse me, but I have to say it, badass riders. And they did all kinds of riding, from gravel riding, mountain biking, to Aisha, who is a pro road cyclist, the first Black woman to be a pro road cyclist. And so I started feeling more and more like I belong when I saw representation, people who look like me. All Mountain Brothers is an Instagram page that everybody go check out. They started showing just Black men and women shredding it. I was like, and I saw someone who looked like me and I said, I want to be like her. And that had never happened to me before. I really just kind of felt so alone. And It took a while to get over this feeling of feeling like this was my community, but I think I have arrived. Whether you talked about whether there's space for me or whether I'm going to make space, and that you see me as a person who, if there's not space for me, I'm going to make space for me. And I feel like I've made space for me here in the mountain biking community. And I feel completely comfortable with calling this my community now.
I love it. I love it because, yeah, it's such a great sport, and the struggle to feel like you belong and seeing people that represent you and look like you. I don't think that's necessarily, it's something people can kind of relate to on the periphery, but not necessarily relate to seeing people that look like them and understanding how that taps into that feeling of belonging. And when you feel like you can belong and you see other people who look like you doing something, it opens up that door or that possibility that, oh, this is an option, this is a possibility, other people are doing this. I think that's super powerful, and it's amazing that you're forging that space, you're opening up that space for yourself and for all those who are going to come after you. I'm so excited about that work.
And I would, just because I'm always an advocate first, I would just encourage that other people find their space in that work. If you are, whether you're white, Black, brown, that you find where you can create, that you could, if you're in this mountain biking community, find a way that you can continue to make this space feel safe. If you believe this is a safe space, find a way to continue to make it safe. Find a way to make it safer. If you can recognize and acknowledge that often, sometimes here in this space is not safe for everyone. That's good. That's even better if you can acknowledge that. Then find ways that you can create safe space. Find ways that you can make this a more inclusive space and a more diverse space in allowing inclusion to happen. And I really I use I reach out often to communities and those people who I think are gatekeepers, big companies. I feel completely comfortable calling out the people who support me and knowing that, yeah, they too need to understand that they are big, that they are massive, that little boys and girls, Black and brown little boys and girls, look up and see those billboards. And so let's make sure that we're representing all athletes, all types of athletes, uh, Black athletes, Indigenous athletes, Latinx athletes. Because for me, I say it often, and I think people are like, "Whoa!" I think this is like uh, not a political issue, but a moral and ethical issue.
Yeah, a
When you're
human
the
issue.
keeper, yeah, when you're the keeper, make room, open the gates for all people.
Absolutely. And I wanted to kind of, if you, feel comfortable, kind of dive into that a little more. Like, what are some of the things that people can do to promote inclusion and diversity um, locally here? What are some things that you would suggest as far as,
I say continue to help the mountain biking community acknowledge, which sometimes we struggle with, acknowledge that uh, that there needs to be uh, more talk of representation here, uh, to not bury our heads when people say that what does cycling have to do with race or injustices. Um, to understand that it so very much does, that everything so very much um, has to do with race and has to do with injustices and has to do with what I know is a very powerful word and might be hard for some of your audience to hear, but just the way that white supremacy just kind of invades so much of our life. And and to just define that for you is this idea of like uh, just the the way we uphold our white brothers and sisters and the way that we think that white is right and best and that that is the norm, like always setting white as the norm. And so that's what I mean by white supremacy. I think sometimes people have different ideas, but and how we can so clearly see how that is rooted in mountain biking, especially when we have so many wonderful athletes, but we rarely see Black athletes in this community at all. We rarely see Black athletes showcased in this community. We rarely see companies investing in communities of color. And why is that? So I think one great thing that people can do is to really encourage companies and those gatekeepers to invest in communities of color, uh, to speak truth, right? It's truth to the fact that Black riders are out there. You might not see them, but to speak truth to yourself, why don't you see them? Why haven't you seen a Black rider? Is that because you're not opening up your circle? And truth to the fact that there are barriers that our riders of color face. And now how can I help reduce those barriers? And yeah, I think those are really, really important. And also just doing some of the work that, like, to be inspired to do some of the work, especially if you're white. To do some of the work about, instead of asking what does race have to do with it, maybe perhaps if you truly want to know the answer to that question, dig into it and figure it out. What does race have to do with it? And what can I do as a person, as a white person, to help support these barriers that are put up for Black and Brown people?
thank you. That's so powerful. And it is something that I'm asking myself, like, what can I do? How can I help? Recently I have my best friend growing up was a woman of color, and she recently passed away. And I really have taken it seriously. We had a lot of conversations about what can I do to help promote. I mean, there's just so much that we take for granted to help promote. And I love that you were talking about the people, the people, these companies that are in power, the gatekeepers promoting equality and inclusion. And if they're the ones that are putting up the billboards and people can see the diversity, then it's going to become how things are.
And not to and I love that you as a white woman, you're not afraid to have this conversation. There are so many people who are afraid to have this conversation. I really love two things that you're doing here. One, you're uplifting a Black voice, like you're giving my voice to your audience, perhaps maybe a white audience. And that's one thing that I think more white people can do is uplift Black voices that have been marginalized and oppressed for so long, right? um, and and two, to be able to use your platform to have these uncomfortable conversations. We call them hugging cactuses. We call them dancing in the room with elephants. Nobody wants, right? Nobody wants
Elephants.
nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to do it because it's really tough. But I like that you're taking a stand here, really early on, even, and that you're uplifting my voice and you're using your platform to support this conversation.
I
So
love it too, Brooke. Thank you. It was part of, I don't know if you really took a good look at my vision board, but when I walked people through my vision board, I said, I want to uplift people of color's voices. That's part of my mission. I want to uplift, I want to have a voice, and I want to help other people have a voice. So it's an important mission to me. So thank you for just jumping in when I said, hey, you want to do an interview? Let's see how this goes.
I love this work. I really do. And I love talking about it. And I love being humbled by it. I know that I don't get it all right. I know that there will be times where someone will very openly tell me I'm not getting it right. And I I'm so passionate about this that I want to get it right. And so when someone comes to me and tells me another perspective or another way of looking at it, it excites me more than causes me to go into defense mode. I get so excited about learning more and so excited about how can I make sure that my passion and that my words are creating a safe space. And I'm ready to be humbled. I think, sometimes I'm sure this happens with you, CJ, is you kind of lose your voice sometimes because you're afraid that you might offend. You're and I don't know if I really get afraid of that. I because I am humbled by the fact that if I do offend, I hope that someone can come to me and I hope that we can work through it and that I can grow as a person.
I love that. That's so powerful. It reminds me of how I feel about my work, of being so passionate about something that not just that I want to get it right, but I'm not as afraid to get it wrong because I just want to get it out there. And then, yeah, if I have to say, sorry, I didn't understand or something, that's okay. But to get started. And that's one thing that you've been amazing about, is jumping in, doing it before you're ready, which has always been like a motto of mine, which brings me to mind. When I was writing the questions for our interview, one of my favorite sayings jumped into my mind, and I'm probably going to murder his last name, but it's that when you want something, all the universe conspires to help you achieve it. And that's from Paulo Coelho, his book, The Alchemist. I don't know if you've ever read it,
Oh,
but
absolutely. The
it's an
Alchemist is a
amazing book.
wonderful book.
It's an amazing, it's about like going on this epic journey to find treasure and then coming back home and realizing it was always right here.
Oh,
And that reminds me of you, because you are just putting yourself out there in such big and beautiful ways. And the universe, I mean, I've been watching it happen, Brooke. The universe has been conspiring to help you achieve your goals. It's been a beautiful thing to watch. So
although it's hard, although it's hard, you're right. And I like that you have brought that very powerful message to me, CJ, because the universe is honoring the work that I'm doing because I'm getting so much reward to it. I have my tough days. I have my days where I said I've gone over this hump of not feeling like I don't belong, but also there are the days where I'm so nervous that my voice shakes. But I say I have to speak up. I have to I have to speak my passion. Um, I have to give volume to my voice. And sometimes the responses back hurt. But the universe is really, it's bringing so much to me, such a treasure, right? And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think the universe has got your back for sure because you are living on purpose, in your purpose. And one of the things I wanted to say is that I think this all kind of came about because I did a vision board and I'm a coach and I put it out there. And so, and I know you looked at the vision board and heard my video a little bit. So that was my story for 2021. And already just even having this interview, that's part of my vision for 2021, having a conversation with you, lifting up people's voices that I think have important messages to say. What are some of the goals that you have for 2021?
I really want to be able to, one thing that I haven't been able to do is go back to my community, adult community as a coach. And so I'm really excited to start studying to coach adults. Right now, I only coach youth. I'm only certified to coach youth. And I'm really excited about getting certified to coach adults. Second, one of the biggest things for me is I'm going to be doing the Great Divide mountain biking route. And I'm
That
pretty
is
excited.
amazing.
I
You're
know.
fine.
I'm pretty excited, and I've been dedicating a lot of training hours to that with strict training and just riding back to back really long days and loading up my bike the way it will be loaded up for me to go on this 30 to 40-day journey um,
What did you
across the United States. I'll start in Canada, Banff,
uh,
Canada, and I'll go all the way to the border of Mexico, New Mexico. And I'll do it all at once, unsupported.
oh,
So I'll be out in the wild for me. I'm a slow climber. I'll admit it. So it it'll be leisurely for me. It'll take me about 30 to 40 days is what I'm giving myself. But I'll enjoy every minute of it.
well,
And
I hope you're going to post and have some videos and vlogs, and because I want to follow you. I want to see the trials and the triumphs, because that is definitely a humbling ride you're about to, and you know, like such an amazing and immense goal to take on. So I think you're going to get the gamut of
yes,
experiences.
there'll be days where I feel like, as you say, the universe is holding me up, and other times where I'll be cursing the universe. So, but I will always remember that the universe and all of its things is here to love on us, to inspire us, to push us forward. I truly believe in that. I'm truly humbled by that, and really draw love and comfort from that. And so, as I move along this trail, I hope to really reflect on what it feels like, all of those moments, from the moments of joy to the moments of sorrow when it comes to biking, and from the people who have, and really think about the people who have helped get me to where I am today. You being one of those people, of course, CJ, taking me out on my first lady ride. And
It was an honor, Brooke.
yes, yeah. So
Gonna ride again soon.
yes, please, please. And I wanted to, because if this goes out soon, then
Yes,
people can perhaps
yes,
go to
thank you.
Holidaily,
Yes.
and a way for them to support my mission. If you believe in my mission, if you believe in the work that I'm doing, please, on February 25th, Thursday, not too long from now,
2 days
please,
from now.
2 days from now, please go to Holidaily and have a beer. 10% of your money you spend on a beer there will go back to Black Girls Do Bike Denver chapter, so that we can continue to introduce all different types of cycling to women and particularly it's going to help support our clinics, our mountain biking clinics. So go there, have beer.
Yes.
Oh, it shouldn't be hard to convince people to have
You're
beer.
going to be doing it anyway. Go to Holiday. They're an amazing brewery. They're gluten free. They're on tap in a lot of places in Golden, but you can actually go to their tap room. And on Thursday, the 25th, they're going to be donating to Black Girls Do Bike and their mission of getting more girls on bikes.
Yes.
Love it. All right. Well, I'm going to finish this up and